And we are live. Welcome, everyone, once again to the spoiler room. Here we are. It's a Sunday night. We had a beautiful weather this weekend. Yesterday, we had summer. Today we're back into like fall, winter type temperatures. But yesterday was like almost 70, and I grilled, and I had I had brats and burgers. So there you go. True Wisconsin night. Celebration of warm weather for the day. But things might get a little cold in the ocean tonight as we talk about another animated film. Another one of those that I call a lost to Disney film. Not lost so much as in, oh, you can't find it. Lost so much as in, you hardly hear Disney talk about it at all. Last week it was Treasure Planet, which was one of those films, and it's a 1-2 punch because they came out a year from each other. Today we are looking at Atlantis, The Lost Empire. Yes, Disney, Atlantis, The Lost Empire, I should say, from 2001. So yeah, thank you for venturing down the stairs, pulling up a chair and popping or pouring your favorite drink as we talk movie spoilers. And I have a crew member with me tonight. Keeps coming back for more. He is the one and only Mr. Ian Simmons. Hello, Ian. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good to hear. Good to hear. So yeah, I consider this a lost Disney film because for reasons I've already stated. It's really one of those where you're like, why don't you hear them talk about this one more? Just like Treasure Planet. Did you want to give the synopsis of this, or do you want me to? I'll give you a choice. I'll give it.
You go ahead and do it. Yeah, this is my second live stream today, so I'm.
Ooh,
yeah. I need a little help.
Okay, I'll give your breath a little breather here. So basically, we have Stargate underwater. There we go.
That's perfect. Let's move on.
And I'm not saying that as a bad thing. I'm just saying it's very similar. Actually, it's Stargate meets 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Basically, you have a young linguist named Milo Thatch who has this theory about Atlantis that he got from his great explorer grandfather. But the museum he works for also has him working in the boiler room, where he's more of a maintenance guy than a linguist presenting a scientific expedition. Well, he gets railroaded because they think he's just a kook in a way. He's a little off his rocker, talking about Atlantis all the time. And yeah, he gets a call from a friend of his grandfather's, a very rich individual. They were friends for a long time, and he wants to help Milo prove his theory. This sound familiar? He wants to prove his theory that Atlantis still is down there and that they may have an energy source that could help the world. So this old guy funds this expedition, includes Milo. He's already got the rest of the crew, a ragtag group of folks who are experienced in adventuring and such. And they venture down into a really cool looking submarine. And they go in the ocean, and Milo translating stuff from this book that his grandfather gave him. It was a long lost book. They do find their path, and soon, a little spoiler, folks, a lot actually. They find Atlantis after an adventure, avoiding a leviathan, nearly dying, and losing people along the way. Well, of course, not everybody on the expedition is as they seem. And soon folks are double-crossed, and we see how Milo befriends the princess of the surviving tribe of Atlantis, which is slowly dying as the life force seems to be draining from their planet, from their underground world. And we see how Milo wants to save them, as well as save his, the princess, and try not to get killed, while the mercenaries try to get away with the energy source, which is, kind of where we leave things.
Very good.
Excuse me. How'd I do, boss?
Excellent.
Hey, Sinister. How you doing? Thanks so much for stopping by. Sorry you got to go to bed soon, but appreciate you leaving the stream up.
All right.
But yeah, Atlantis, The Lost Empire. It's been a while since I've watched this. And I wanted to get your initial thoughts, Ian. Do you remember when you first saw this?
Of course, I remember yesterday, Mark.
Oh, it was yesterday. It was
I'm not
yesterday.
that old. Yeah, this is like the movie discussed last week, Treasure Planet. Well, no, I actually saw Treasure Planet in the theater, but I feel like this is one that was just not on my radar.
Mhm.
I remember it being out briefly in 2001, but I didn't really have an interest in it because it was a Disney movie, it was a kids movie, and I was all like, if it's not Pixar, it's not worth my time. Plus, from what I remember, the reviews weren't that good, so I'm like, I'll just not. I'll go see something edgy instead. Uh, but you brought this up for the show, so I decided to watch it, and I was pleasantly surprised and also very disappointed. And
Oh,
disappointed only because this is the third movie of its kind that we've discussed in the last 3 weeks. So the plot structure of going on this expedition, this unlikely hero teams up with a band of unsavory rogues, and they all turn out to be evil. And then there's a guy who's like really evil, and there's like a double cross, and all of this stuff. I just like, wow, they really, between Titan AE from Fox and then these two films from Disney, and you go back to Pocahontas, you flash forward to Avatar, like there's a whole bunch of this movie and other movies and other movies in this movie. So I can recommend it purely on an aesthetic and a visual level. I think Michael J. Fox is a great. All the voice acting in this
oh yeah.
movie is top notch. It's just I think it's let down by a script that doesn't really know where to go with itself after a certain point, and that's kind of a bummer. If this had the same writers that Treasure Planet had, I think it would have been much stronger.
No, I agree. I agree. It's like they had an idea, and again, this is described as Disney's experimental phase, so to speak, where they're still working with. This was a year earlier than Treasure Planet, but here we have the amalgamation of their. Was it the deep canvas? They called it which was kind of a digital artistry 2D animation and computer generation. They kind of have that.
I think they started that in '99 with Tarzan, if I remember.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's got that combination of that. But yeah, aesthetically, man, this movie is so fun to watch. I mean, it is, especially when they get into the underwater and Atlantis and all of that. You're right. The story is kind of the weakest part, only because it has so many familiarities with other things. I'm not kidding when I say it's part a good chunk borrows from Stargate. You could almost say Stargate, and then it kind of morphs into borrowing from Fifth Element.
Yeah.
So I mean, it does have those familiar aspects, which you do run into with some adventure films if you don't have, as you mentioned, writers like they did in Treasure Planet. But yeah, I mean, I have fun with it as well. It's if you have to choose between the two, I say this is the stronger one story. Treasure Planet was the stronger one story wise. This still is a fun watch, and it goes to a few dark places. It goes to some dark places.
Oh yeah, I mean, just to jump way ahead.
Yeah.
During the climactic battle, when they're in this like weird balloon that's over Atlantis, and there's a volcano, or so I don't remember where exactly they were, but there's a struggle, and our James Garner character, who I love it. Yeah, the Rourke, that was his name.
Yeah.
He was also the evil priest or bishop from Sin City. Anyhow, Rourke and Helga, his kind of underling, voiced by Claudia Christian, they're having a bit of a conflict, and he punches her, I think, and then throws her over the edge of this thing down into the abyss. Now she survives, and she survives just enough to get a flare gun and shoot the thing and cause it to all like collapse, and I think it ends up falling down and killing her ultimately. But that's some dark, fun stuff. I also love the fact that Rourke gets cut and kind of infected with the crystalline, glowing spirit juice of the Atlantean people,
Mhm.
and he kind of turns into a monster. And I thought, okay, here's where he turns into, the abomination or the evil Hulk or something, and they have to fight this thing. But no, it basically destroys him from the inside, and he's kind of like suffering as he falls to his death. I'm like, this is cool. This is unexpected. I just wish there'd been more of this energy in a couple of other parts of the film.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when the film really picks up, obviously, when it gets to its title character, Atlantis, when they start diving into Atlantis and like the Atlantean history and the way the tech works and all that, that's all fascinating stuff. I mean, that's some really cool, like, these are some sci-fi geeks writing this stuff, this is some serious. These guys are like, oh yeah, let's do this. And then, it's getting there. That it does slow it down. I mean, it opens fun, but it is the journey getting there after they fight the Kraken, if you will, the big robotic crab, where they lose a good chunk of their crew. It's that in between journey part that, while some of the character stuff was really cool, it does slow it down. They could have trimmed that length of time a bit, for sure, because it's not afraid of a montage. So there.
Yeah, we talked about the look of the film.
Yeah.
From what I understand, Mike Mignola did the concept art and a lot of the character designs. And this is before Hellboy had hit theater, so he was still kind of just like a comics guy. But man, you can see it if you just look at Milo's fingers, and they're like long, but they come to like the hard square points, and they got the triangular fingernails. I mean, that's Mike Mignola all over the place. And you look at the designs for the runes that are on all the Atlantean tech, as you mentioned, the kind of the hovering masks of the ancient Atlanteans, which it looks like Mike Mignola from Hellboy had designed the quintessence from Transformers the movie,
Yes.
and that's what you have here.
Yes, that's exactly what they reminded me of. Was that no? Yeah, and the big knuckles too. They've got the larger knuckles that the hands do in that. But yeah, I mean, so visually, animation wise, again, it's a gorgeous film. I like the way the characters are designed. I love the tech stuff though that they designed in here. Like I said, that the all of the tech, even the human stuff that they do for it, it really is cool stuff. You're like, okay, this is, sci-fi working in itself in here, and them trying to do something that's familiar but also giving it its own identity. And I think they accomplished that in this.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit ahead of its time. It's like underwater steampunk in a way, and there's a lot of like Treasure Planet. This was also a lot of CGI and 2D kind of married with each other, pretty seamlessly. I mean, there's some stuff like when they're fighting the Leviathan monster, which is actually a ship, and then the submersible, or the craft itself, and it's kind of like the smaller submersible. That's clearly like toon shaded 3D models, but especially for the time, and you watch it now, it's like, wow, this looks really good. Even though it's 25 years old and we've had all these advancements, it still holds up shockingly well. And the 2D animation is great. Like Milo he's like a less cool version of Marty McFly. And I know possibly just because he's Michael J. Fox, but he has that kind of like,
he does, yeah,
nervous energy about him. He's not a traditional hero, and I just love that.
Yeah, I enjoyed that about him. I like his character quite a bit. He's, again, reminded me a lot of our character from Stargate, not in a bad way, but just you could tell it just had that vibe to him, that and that energy. And Michael J. Fox is really good voice actor in this. I really liked his voice acting in this. But it was funny, you mentioned James Gardner. At first I'm like, is that Tommy Lee Jones? Because they sound if you remove the face and you just have the voices, they do sound similar. So when we first hear him, I'm like, I didn't know Tommy Lee Jones is this. And my wife looked at the credits. She's like, no, that's James Gardner. I'm like, oh, that's why the joke of I prefer Westerns in
Mhm.
there. I like because he drops a line in there about how he prefers to watch westerns, and I'm like, well, yeah, because he's James Gardner. So there's your little in meta joke going on here. So you've got James Gardner as Rourke playing a bad guy, which is fun. Um, you know, the heart got a little bittersweet though when we get to Cookie, the very fun cook, who is voiced if you grew up at all, folks, you know exactly who's voicing Cookie. And this was his last film. Jim Varney was Cookie.
Wow.
He
Yeah.
passed during the filming of this. So they got someone to kind of do a few of the fill-in. He did most of his dialogue, but yeah, Cookie, the cook for the submarine, was voiced by Jim Varney. So I was like, Ernest, oh.
There is another actor who I had forgotten that Jim Varney had done that voice. So
Yeah.
when I was hearing Cookie, I was actually hearing another actor who's I think he's still kicking around. He was an older gentleman even back in the time of this movie, so he could have been a contemporary of Jim Varney. And I don't remember his name. I remember seeing him like on sitcoms, like a grandpa and stuff. But he had a very similar voice. But yeah, I liked what was his name? Don Novello as Vinny, the demolitions expert.
He was hilarious.
I grew up knowing him as Father Guido Sarducci.
Yes.
And I could not. I mean, he sounds exactly like he's doing his Guido Sarducci bit, and it's just that kind of wry, weird offhanded delivery. I think he gets the best lines in the whole film.
Oh, he's hilarious in this. I just, yeah. And that's the thing too, is while the story is the weakest part, I really like this group of characters they came up with, because while they are, those archetypes, there's ones we've seen before in a film like this, they do have they each have their own personality, but they're just so much fun to watch work together. Like, your doctor isn't your normal medic of the group. He's a rather big, good-looking guy who's like got muscles in that, and he's the doctor, the medic, and you're just like, that's something you don't quite expect to see. Or they've got an engineer who's actually a teenager in here, a female teenager, no less. I mean, it's, and then they got the one guy who loves to dig, who nobody Mole.
Oh yeah, Moliere, who goes by Mole, and yeah, just an oddball collection of characters. A true kind of pirate crew. One thing I loved about Cookie, and I jotted this down, the 4 food groups: beans, bacon, whiskey, and lard.
My wife and I laughed when we were watching it. We watched it, and he said, beans, bacon, whiskey, and lard. I'm like, oh, that's 4 food groups I could get behind. Yeah, sure.
Oh, I love that his food was just so toxic nobody wanted to eat it. But yeah,
but that's all you have. So yeah, you have and then you have a wonderful side character in here who. When did Monsters Inc. come out?
02?
Was that 02 or 03?
No, it wasn't 03.
Monsters Inc. came out same year.
Oh, 2001.
Yeah, it was 2001 as well. There's a character in here. Is it Miss Packard? I think.
Oh, yeah. I kept thinking of her like
Wazowski. Yeah, she was hilarious in here. That's the thing, is I like that they had these side characters that actually were almost as interesting as your main character, because she's like the radio operator, and nothing like phases her. She's just this older woman,
and she smokes cigarettes. Yes, we still have cigarette smoke in Disney films at this point.
Yes, we do. She's smoking a cigarette in a Disney film, and yeah, I loved her attitude and everything in there. Like the submarines getting attacked, and she's just talking. Well, he packed his bags. I don't think he's coming back, honey. And then she's like, "Oh, hold on." And she's like, "Evacuate the shit." It's just, I loved the personality of this crew that we had here. Because again, it's something you're used to seeing in an adventure film, not necessarily used to seeing in a Disney film.
Well, I think we're getting to, I don't know, 20 years ago. I think we're getting to the end of the 90s. And I think we're getting to the beginning of the 2000s. And I think we're getting to the end of the 90s. And I think we're getting to the beginning of the 2000s. And I think we're getting to the end of the 90s. And I think we're getting to the end of the 90s. And I think we're getting to the end of the 90s. And I think we're getting to the end of the 90s. And I think we're getting to the end of the 90s. And I think we're getting to the end of the 90s. And I think we're getting to the end of the 90s. And I think we're getting to the end of the 90s. And I think we're getting to the end of the 90s. And I think we're getting to the end of the 90s. And I think we're getting to the end of the 90s. And I think we're getting to the end of the 90s. And I think we're getting to the end of the 90s. And I think we're getting to the end of the 90s. And I think we're getting to the end of the 90s. And I think we're getting to the end of the 90s. And I think we're getting to the end of the 90s. And I think we're getting to the end of the one of the reasons this movie didn't do very well is it is an adventure movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this isn't. I don't think they have a. There's no cute animal sidekick.
Mm.
Like all the sidekicks in here are colorful criminals essentially
Yeah.
who are on this crew. They're kind of work for hire mercenary types. And there it does go to some dark places. It's about kind of, well, I mean, as we said, Disney has dealt with themes of colonization and
Mm-hmm.
and corporate greed and stuff before, and they would do so again. I mean, you think about there's a lot of this in Up with the Muntz character. Um, it's not exactly something you're like, hey, let's go pile the family into the car and take them down to the cinema for a good old fashioned fun yarn. There's a lot more going on here. It is a lot closer to Avatar than it is to 101 Dalmatians.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's no musical numbers in here. You've got apparently they were wearing T-shirts at one point for the production that said "less songs, more explosions." Um,
Nice.
so yeah, I mean, but the cast in here. You're right. The sound, the voice acting in here is great. We get Leonard Nimoy as the king of Atlantis, Keeta father, and it was great hearing him. I always love when he does voice acting. I'm like, even in Bayformers, I thought he was well in the voice acting. His dialogue sucked ass, but just hearing his voice was always good. But you get him here as the Atlantean queen and king, and I thought he did well in here.
Well, it's also funny because this is sort of a meta thing. I was listening to someone talk about this movie earlier today because they did a YouTube video about some of the production problems with this movie.
Sure.
They had someone who, I don't remember the person's name, but they came up with an Atlantean civilization dialogue, like a full actual dialect. Yeah. And it was the same person who invented the Klingon language.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you've got Leonard Nimoy in your movie, so it's like 6 Degrees of Star Trek or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. It was nice and touching, and I did love his kind of send off as becoming the giant mask, and that was kind of touching. But yeah.
One of the things I liked about his character, and again, while the story itself was kind of straight through, these character interactions were fun to watch for an animated film because you get the general showing up and the king just knows what's up like immediately. I mean, he's just like, yeah, get the fuck out of my, out of my town, basically. And he's like, oh, come on, you can't strand us. And he's like, one night. But I know it's animated, but with the way the voice acting was, and even some of the animation, the way it's done, you can tell these two know exactly who they are. And, the king knows exactly this guy is going to be a problem. Like Milo, you don't get that, but he's like, this guy right here needs to go.
Which makes me wonder why he let him stay.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have very much said, look, Keeta, I know you think this is an okay thing that you bring these people here, but they're bad news. And this but dad stuff isn't going to work with me because they're going to kill all of our people. But then you don't have a movie, so.
Yeah. One of the other things I thought was interesting, you mentioned the Atlantean language. The Atlanteans have been kept alive a long time thanks to the energy source that was slowly dwindling. But it had been such a long time that many of them forgot how to operate and do some of the things that they used to do because they were losing their energy and they were losing their culture. And I thought that was an interesting little subtext story in here about them losing themselves because folks couldn't read the language anymore. They spoke it, but they couldn't read it anymore because it is so separated, after centuries. And it was just a little interesting bit. They didn't focus on it too much, but I thought that was just a very interesting angle for their society to kind of have dwindled from this higher tech group to, gatherers and hunters. Basically.
Well, I mean, it is an interesting kind of sub theme, and it's something that you could make a movie or a TV show about today.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, what would happen 3 generations from now if tomorrow we lost the internet?
Yeah.
Like, it would, not only would the world be plunged into total darkness, at least for a while, but we would have to literally like remember how to do things because everything is online. Like, very few things are, on paper, at least in the accessibility degree that we have it right now. So it'd be nuts. So I could see losing a culture, losing the ability to learn to know how to operate vehicles and things like that. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, even now, less and less people know how to operate a manual, a stick shift, a manual vehicle.
Hmm.
That's but even just in general skill sets, one of those things where we are seeing it now. And it's something they predicted when my kids were in high school. Oh, Jesus, now 8 years, I'm old. Like 8, 9 years ago, they were predicting it though, to where they were saying, yeah, there's going to be this chunk of time between like 2020 and 2026 or 7 where you're going to have specific skill sets completely like a vacuum, like your electricians, your plumbers, your
Hmm.
you know your backhoe operators, your construction folks, and that there's going to be this void because they moved away emphasis from trade skills. And so while at first you might look at Atlantis with the storyline going, well, how could they forget that? And you're like, well, they've been around a long time and not all this stuff worked. And if you didn't have the proper teachings, yeah, after a few generations, 100 years or so, you're going to be like, because she's like 800 years old, but you're going to have a separation after a while if that stuff isn't being maintained and continually taught to folks.
Yeah, I mean, I saw an ad the other day for Amazon Kindle, or it wasn't specifically for them, but it was like
Mhm.
making money on Kindle Marketplace. And like, you could have AI write a novel for you and sell $20,000 worth of books a month. I'm like, AI writing a novel for you. What are we talking about here? Like, are they going to teach people how to write anymore? Or like, why? We have the computer. That's why cursive is falling out of favor, because you don't need it anymore. Nobody writes.
Which is good because my cursive sucked. But anyway, but no. my handwriting blew chunks. Okay, I fully admit I could never. It's genetic though, so you know. Luckily, my boys got my wife's handwriting. She does better than me. My script, yeah, it just looks like a line vomit is what like a sine wave. Like if you took a sine wave like from the Outer Limits and sped it up, that's kind of what my
Mark, I hate to break this to you. Handwriting is not genetic; it is a choice.
some of the skill is genetic. That's my story. I'm sticking to it anyway.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, the story in Atlantis, the civilization losing it. At first, I was like kind of taken aback, but then I was like, no, I could see that happening. And again, it's another original kind of approach to familiar territory, because usually you come across the advanced technology. I mean, we saw it in Aquaman, for crying out loud. Atlantis, you got all this advanced technology and everything. And here, yeah, they discover Atlantis, but these guys aren't what you expected. They've got tech just growing moss because nobody has been able to quite figure out how to operate these things. And I loved that idea. That I liked that approach because it's something at least a little different. You're expecting Atlantis to be this big advanced thing, and you're like, it is, but it is.
Well, I mean, it's mind blowing stuff if you can turn it on, and you they can't. They need help from the surface dwellers. I mean, it's kind of the perfect coming together of the old and the new, because Milo's blown away by this old technology that's advanced farther than a lot of stuff aside from the ship that Whitmore guy has
Right.
built. But we're talking about 1914 here.
Yeah.
So he hasn't even conceived of the stuff they have down in Atlantis, but the Atlanteans are like, we have no use for this stuff because we can't get it to work. But there's a civilization who's 800 years behind us that somehow, with just a little bit of deductive reasoning based on boiler room technology, we can get this thing to turn on.
Yeah. Another interesting little theme going on with this. Hey, Billy Judd, so glad you could join us.
Hey.
And so yeah, that's what I find the charm about this movie is that. And we haven't even gotten to the who should be considered a princess, but for some reason, if you look up princesses, you won't see her in the main roster at all. We have Princess Keeta, voiced by Cree Summer, who I think she's a princess. She main character in here. You know, this is one of those moments about this film, one of the many where you're just like, why is Disney letting this just kind of collect mothballs on Disney Plus? You know, they marketing and anything. They did it for a while, and yeah, sure, it didn't do great at the box office, but that's not the first Disney product that's not done great at the box office that they merchandise the shit out of it. You know, it's really weird that they chose this one not to do that with.
Yeah, I mean and they would have that double whammy a year later again with Treasure Planet. They were just
Right.
not they were experimenting, but they weren't having much success with any of this stuff. Um, yeah, it's just like I would love to see Atlantis toys. I looked up the Treasure Planet stuff last week, and it's ungodly expensive because of that paradox. Like nobody wanted it at the time, but now a few people want it now. So let's charge $160 for a $5 action figure. But yeah, it's as far as Keeta goes, it's funny. I didn't pay attention to who the voice actress was, but you mentioned Cree Summer. I'm like, I know that name. Yeah, she was on A Different World, the Cosby spinoff back in the '80s,
Right.
and she was also the voice of Elmira and some of the other Tiny Toons on that cartoon show. So it's like you think of someone in one context and they show up as a voice actress, and a damn good one. I mean, she's a cool character. I love her animation. I love her animation on screen with Milo. It's I don't necessarily buy their chemistry because the movie is interested in so much more than their romance that it doesn't invest enough time in it because she doesn't show up until the movie's like halfway over.
Yeah.
So, you know, oh wait, Billy Judd said Cree Summer is also the green M&M. Is that true? Wow.
Really? Oh,
Nice.
Billy, seriously? Wow, I didn't realize she was the green M&M. That's awesome.
Yeah. I want to finish up on
Yeah.
Keeta here, but then I'd like to go to Billy Judd's previous comment because that's an interesting talking point or
It
question.
is, absolutely.
But yeah, I think Keeta could and should be a Disney princess. I think it might be a bit awkward now because she's got a similar kind of Moana vibe. You know, just like aesthetically, it's like the future underwater version of Moana. I feel like, but sure. And how cool would it be to see an Atlantis theme park ride at one of the Disney things?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, or
could
at
do-
least a model, a maquette of the ship that goes down, and it lasts all of like 5 minutes before it gets blown up.
That's what I love is how they have all this high-tech stuff and it's like they keep losing more and more as they go along. It's just like, nope, yeah, this was a cool ship. Nope, it's gone. It just got munched by that. But Billy Judd does give a interesting question. Asks, did Rourke and Helga deserve to die? Oh, that's a deep question because I would I don't know if they deserve, maybe Rourke. I'm not quite sure on Helga, though she went along with his plan. But I like the Helga character in all honesty. I was like, I forgot about her character till I was watching this again, and I'm like, oh shit, I forgot they wrote the Helga character in here, and she was a cool character as well. I don't know if they deserved to die. I mean, they were going to leave the Atlantis civilization to completely boil under lava. So, I think, yeah. I mean, now that I'm talking it out, Rourke more so than Helga, but both of them. Because Helga went along with Rourke.
Rourke for sure. And I like that he died in what looked to be a very painful way.
Yeah.
But a painful and confused way, because there was a great howl of like pain and just confusion. It wasn't even rage. It was like, what is going on here? Also, I'm on fire, and it also is kind of icy. Um, but with Helga, it is just her complicity in going along with this. At any
Mhm.
point, she could have, like, when there was the second mutiny where the gang of criminals decides, okay, we're going to turn the tables on the other bad guys and we're going to join with the good guys. That was a fun little moment. But Helga decided, no, I'm going to go off in the truck with Rourke. Um, so it's she's kind of like Ilsa from Indiana Jones and the
Oh
Last
yeah.
Crusade,
Hmm.
right? She's a villain, but she's got kind of a heart, and the hero's kind of sweet on her. But in her last moment, she makes a choice to grab for the Grail. She's like, I can reach it, I can reach it. And like, nope. So you made your decision, and now you got to live with it and die with it. So I at least like the fact that, I mean, I was shocked. It was a jaw-dropping moment when Rourke flipped her over the side of that thing and fell down.
Right.
She fell down the chasm. I thought, wow, that's a hell of a way to go. And then I did like when she's on the ground and her last act is to send up that flare gun. So
Mhm.
she dies heroically. So I think she does have redemption, but ultimately she does have to pay for all the pain she
Right.
inflicted and would have inflicted if Rourke had gotten his way.
Right. She's the one that's a step up above Rourke. Well, she does have the redemption arc. She needed to pay some kind of price. Now, if that, whether or not that's, complete death, or if she gets captured by the Atlanteans, you get kind of bait, but she does redeem herself a little bit where Rourke doesn't. He's definitely irredeemable, and yeah, turning into a wonderful statue and falling to his death, I think was fitting for him, for sure, and again, Disney's still digging into kind of its darker angles, which I like to see with this. And so yeah, I'd say Rourke for sure. Helga, she had to pay for for going along with Rourke. Whether or not she actually had to do the ultimate price, but she still had to pay some kind of major price. Even with her redemption, she had to face the consequences of going along with him all the way up to that point. And the fact that she shoots the balloon too, even though it's a bit of a redeeming arc, did she do that more because she saw the light, or did she do that just to screw Rourke? Too. So her intention for doing that,
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, I think the answer is kind of both. I mean,
mhm,
she probably knew that she was a goner anyway, so what else is she
right.
going to do lying on those rocks? She's got a flare gun. She might as well stick it to the man, which I was totally on board with. I like Helga partially because of the voice acting. Again, Claudia Christian did a great job here. Um, it's one of those things where, like, is that Kathleen Turner? No, it's not nearly as
No.
smoky, but still has that kind of sultry, menace to it.
Yeah.
But also just her design, the this normally would be kind of a knock in other animated films, but some of these characters look like they were created and designed by different teams of animators because the character design is different. She does not look like, say, Milo. She looks like a drawing that would have been done by Tim Sale, who is a comics artist, did like Superman for All Seasons, and
Mhm.
has a very distinct look. And Helga looks like a Tim Sale woman, and that's that is the highest compliment I can give.
She was drawn badass. She was a badass character overall, and she was drawn badass. And yes, I stand corrected. You're right. Rourke didn't fall to his death. Well, I mean, he fell into the shredded blades, I think, or the blades fell on him. But so you're right. He didn't fall to his death. He did get shredded to the blades after becoming a statue. But so that way they don't have to show blood when they kill the bad guy. But they show him. I mean, he gets chopped up by blades too. So it's very interesting, some of the choices they make in here with the deaths. I mean, it's just like on our way down, we were talking about how various folks get killed. A lot of the NPCs, if you would like to call them, we have a lot of the crew dying, like actually dying, like the ship's blowing up, Star Wars style, in these fights that they have. And they even acknowledge it. It's not like it's passed off either, like, oh, we're just gonna like ignore the fact that all those ships died. they acknowledge the fact that, oh, we had a cast of a crew of 200, and
Yeah.
now we just have this group of guys left.
And some of those, it was very weird because, yeah, you mentioned NPCs. Aside from our main kind of pirates, if you will, and then Milo, you see a whole bunch of these people with like those kind of gas mask snow trooper from Empire Strikes Back's outfits with the hoses coming out. And like, who are these people? Like they just survived this whole thing, and yet you'd think they'd take their mask off to breathe or to, you know, not be so sweaty in there or something, but they are just like faceless soldier bad guys. It is kind of a there's so much personality invested in everybody else, and for this to be an expedition that is not evil, not a ship full of literal stormtroopers, you'd think they'd have people walking around a bit more casual than they do.
You would, but you know, they were supposed to be menacing. You knew who the bad guys were, basically. You knew those guys were going to be bad guys,
right? But this is before the heel turn,
right? Before the heel turn. So I mean, maybe it was put out there to, you know, throw in suspicion. It's hard to say, but yeah, I just thought it was interesting. They actually acknowledged the loss of the crew, because a lot of times, you know, especially like with the adventure films and that, especially for the younger generation, you know, adults are looking, going, wait a minute, but they don't even dread. They just kind of, let's just move along. Let's move along. Don't pay attention to the fact that there were guys in those little ships that the Leviathan just crushed in underwater.
Yeah.
Or people dying in the volcano, or the Atlanteans and the battle that they have at the end. Yeah, those guys are dying too. But that's like, they just, you know.
Well, I mean, it's very similar to the Gungan battle at the end of episode 1.
Yes.
It's complete with the force shields, like the energy force shields, kind of these circular discs raising up. Yeah, that was a.
Well, and then again, that was a great example of, and I guess this is why this film to me has such appeal, is the fact that the Atlantis stuff, it really felt like they were trying to do some original, or at least some very cool different things in it, because the shield that gets put around Atlantis is put out by these big sentinel statues that just kind of stand up, and they put out the energy. You know, I thought that was cool. I like that. That's just different, rather than just having the shield go up. At least you have, like, you know, these guys, they're not just columns, they're these big automatons that put the shield up.
I know it was a different movie studio, but I mean, there's theories about Atlantis, like, oh, they were actually aliens. Can you imagine? Because these Sentinels look like the Iron Giant.
That's what I was thinking.
I was like, would it be cool if, like, that race seeded Atlantis and gave them these Sentinels, and then, like, you know, 50 or 30 years after this adventure happens, you've got you know, the Iron Giant showing up on Earth, and he ended up as a little beacon in the ocean, floating around at the end. Who put him back together?
Who put him back together? The Atlanteans. Yeah, there you go. Hello, Derek. He popped into the chat to say hi, Derek, in Hanaho. Yeah, and yeah, that's again, here you have Disney once again doing something a bit original. And it seems like a lot of some of their original stuff kind of ends up falling by the wayside. Maybe it's because of the shadow of Pixar. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you reminded me, like, this movie came out in June of 2001, and then Monsters, Inc. came out in November, I think it was, that year. So huge contrast in terms of the reception, and possibly because Monsters, Inc. had more in the way of, you know, cute, cuddly, more marketable characters. But I think, just as far as like a movie and an adventure goes, some story problems aside, this, I was thinking while I was watching this on my television on Disney Plus, how cool it would be to see this thing in a movie theater, because even just like the sense of scale, you get the great proportions of wonder when you're either you're talking about the ship, or you're talking about encountering Atlantis for the first time, or that kind of harrowing fight on that balloon kind of vehicle at the end. Like, it is dizzying to watch Helga topple over that railing and go down into the abyss. I know I keep bringing it up, but I think that moment traumatized me yesterday. But yeah, it'd be cool to see this get some kind of a re-release, even if it's just like a one-night Fathom event thing. I'd go.
Oh yeah, I'd go too to see it because yeah, it's definitely one of those that still very cinematic in a lot of ways. And Billy Judd dropped another nugget for us, which yeah, Lloyd Bridges was a cast to be Preston B. Whitmore, but he passed away, so John Mahoney took over the role, which is the gentleman. I believe he's the one that's funding the expedition. Yeah, another character actor who passed away before, though.
Man, this movie has a body count. What the hell?
I mean, it's got, Twilight Zone's going. Yeah, keep going. But no, sorry. sorry. Bad joke. Too soon for Twilight Zone, the movie joke.
Oh God, someone's probably already done this, but I can just imagine someone putting together a clip of Arnold saying "Get to the chopper," and then you've got the scene from Twilight Zone, the movie.
No, well, there you go. Talix just dropped it. Hey, Talix, he just said, "Bring in the chopper."
Oh no,
bring in the chopper. So that's why they call it that. Anyway, okay, I'm done. Talk about getting dark. So. Yeah, Atlantis, Lost Empire is another one of those fascinating Disney films, and for as much as it flopped, they must have saw something in it because they did a direct-to-video sequel like they were doing with so many other properties back in that day. They did do a Milo's Return, where they brought some Atlanteans to the surface, I guess.
That's what they called it? They called it Milo's Return?
It's called Atlantis Lost Empire, Milo's Return. Yeah, those direct-to-video sequels Disney came up with, man, they gave it to some intern to come up with the title. They're like, here, I need a title in 5 minutes or you're fired. Okay.
Hell, man, just call Atlantis the Found Empire. It's better than Milo's Return.
I know, right? It's like you're making it sound like Milo's the bad guy here. Atlantis, Lost Empire, Milo's Return.
That's true. Oh man. Oh
yeah. No, this has got some pretty interesting places tonight. But this movie went interesting place, and this is just a weird period for Disney because you're coming off of you've got your Pixar high going on. You're coming off, as far as your 2D animation stuff, a string of just hits, and then you have this, which they're trying to do something new. And it's sad because even while, if I had to pick between the two, I would pick Treasure Planet being the better story over, it's based, of course, on a more classic story, but over Atlantis Lost Empire, there's nothing wrong with either of these two movies to where you couldn't see them getting more of the Disney treatment. And it's just really weird they did it.
Disney is still in their live action remake kick. What they need to do is, instead of remaking beloved 2D movies, they need to go back into their vault and do live action versions of movies that flopped. Because I think it's been enough time, we're talking about a quarter century, that you could do a live action remake of Treasure Planet. You could do a live action, maybe Atlantis needs a little bit more time to cook because people are still coming off of Avatar, which is spending a whole lot of time underwater and all that stuff. It probably look very similar, but maybe not. I think just give them a chance to make successes out of these movies that should have gotten their due, and then hopefully people will be like, wait, this is our live action remake, what's the 2D version? They can go back and say, why did people sleep on this, much like we're doing this month.
I mean, Atlantis and Treasure Planet sure are two that would make great translations to live action. The way their stories play out and their characters are, they would be great live action films. And you're right, they're probably ones that aren't quite as well known. So you could revitalize maybe interest, because I take that over, oh, look, we're going to remake Cinderella again. Although of the live action remakes, Cinderella was probably one of the better ones done for sure. But, something like a Snow White, or even Jungle Book, can you really call that a live action? Or Lion King, that wasn't really live action so much as realistic CGI movie.
Yeah.
Instead of doing those, I would love to see them dive into it. Give it, as much as I know we all mentioned what's the point, because it was pretty much exact duplicate, but look at what they did with How to Train Your Dragon. Even though you sit there and you go, well, why'd they make it? But they did make it. It is gorgeous looking, but you look at what they did with How to Train Your Dragon, you're like, man, I would love to see Atlantis or Treasure Planet get that treatment, because it would look great.
That's the thing, is I think there's possibly even more of an appetite for that, because the thing about How to Train Your Dragon is so weird, because it had come out 15 years earlier, the first one. It was something like that. Plus,
Yeah.
it had 3 sequels and an animated series and all this stuff. So it's not like, oh, they came out with 1 movie and now or 2 movies, now we're gonna pay homage to a live action. It was still fresh in people's minds, and it was a straight shot for shot, pretty much remake. So it really is pointless. But with something like this, you could say, okay, here's Treasure Planet. You might remember it, but you've never seen it like this. And for people who have no idea what Treasure Planet is, because we're talking about movies now that are 25 years old, a target demographic to now people in their 20s and like little kids who probably have no context for it, because Disney buried both of these movies. So to them, it is this brand new thing. Like, oh my God, they put Treasure Island in space. Who knew?
Yeah, exactly. Not that they'll listen to us, but I mean, it goes along with our remake conversation in general. I would sooner see them take like a low budget film that has a following, that had some really cool ideas. They just didn't have the budget or quite the resources to make it, and remake those type of films, because at least those, don't quite feel as much rehash as the same old thing that you keep getting out of the studios. But whether we get that, maybe someone will dust off Atlantis or Treasure Planet. I'm not sure. Billy Judge said, whose idea was it to cast Leonard Nimoy to be the king of Atlantis? I don't know, but I liked him. We talked about it earlier. I do enjoy his voice acting. It was fitting, considering you need older guy, and being the sci-fi. I imagine that's part of it too, of the casting, is being Atlantis being more sci-fi, them leaning into that, going, oh, here's a little stunt casting for you, Leonard Nimoy as the king of Atlantis. So,
there's another Transformers the movie connection. I brought up the quintessons. Leonard Nimoy, I almost forgot, was the voice of Galvatron in that movie.
Yes, he was. That's right, he was. And then he was a voice of something in Bayformers that whatever. Sorry, I've got an opinion about Transformers. But we got Ted the soundtrack guy tuning in, and I totally agree. Both this and Treasure Planet have wonderful scores. It's just gorgeous music that fits so well, and it's just this wonderful sweeping adventure music that James Newton Howard does, that it makes it so much fun to listen to, and it's a gorgeous score for sure. Another comment we got here, we got a number of them. Billy Judd says Aladdin is the best live action Disney remake because they love Will Smith as the genie. I'm gonna say Aladdin, the live action, I enjoyed it for the most part. I will say Will Smith did a good job as the genie, only because they were smart enough to not try to replicate Robin Williams, and he made the genie kind of his own genie. And I appreciate that quite a bit, because I think if they would have tried to make him like the genie Robin Williams, it really would have failed.
I did a show on the Aladdin remake when it came out, and that's all I'll say. I don't have time to litigate all the problems I have with that movie.
Did you not care for it? What? No, there's problems with that film for sure, but
we already mentioned, I think the perfect Disney live action remake was Kenneth Branagh's Cinderella, because it was early on in the cycle, and it wasn't a rehash. It took elements of the original story and like zoomed in on them, like her
Mhm.
relationship with her wicked stepmother, who was, again, played by Kate Blanchett. I mean, you don't top that. Uh, so yeah, that's that for me. That's my gold standard. And I don't think it's been topped yet.
It really hasn't. It's for me as well. My wife and I, when we went to see it, we thought it was really well done. And that's obviously partly due to Kenneth Branagh, because I love his work, for sure. And yeah, and then Nimoy was also Dr. Jekyll and the Page Master. Absolutely, Billy Judd, dropping all kinds of knowledge on us tonight, Billy, and also saying, did they try to make Alan Tudyk voice the Iago be like Gilbert Godfrey in the Aladdin remake? Yeah, I think so. Which, that's another one of those. Don't try. Nobody's ever gonna top Gilbert Godfrey in voice whatsoever. If you haven't found it on YouTube, folks, it was brilliant. They had him read passages from 50 Shades of Grey, and it is side-splitting hilarious. He just read from the pages, and if you find it on YouTube, I think the videos are still out there. Gilbert Godfrey reading 50 Shades of Grey is the most wonderfully awkward video you could think, because Gilbert is great, and he'll always be a Iago for sure.
Did you ever see the Aristocrats? Not the
Oh yeah.
Aristocats, but the Aristocrats.
Oh yeah, no, I saw the Aristocrats. Yeah,
Okay,
because everybody was shocked to find out who actually says the most blue version of the Aristocrats. They're like, the Full House guy? And you come to find out, yeah, the guy who hosted America's Funniest Home Videos and the Full House guy, dude's puts sailors to shame. He's freaking hilarious. Yeah, the Aristocrats is a hilarious documentary. I loved that one. And bringing it back to here, it's got a great voice casting voice acting cast. It's got the images. It's really interesting how Atlantis and what we talked about last week kind of fell by the wayside. And I think they're both worth a watch. What's your final thought, Ian?
Yeah, I mean that's exactly it. I think Treasure Planet of the two is the strongest, but again, it only falls down in the story department. I think it's great to look at. It's a fun experience, and it does feel different enough. I mean, both of these movies wipe the floor with Titan AE. I mean, the only reason to watch a triple feature is to see how you can take one concept and one set of technology in its early stages and interpret it three different ways and have one of them turn out to be a complete mess and the other two turn out to be unheralded classic movies. So yeah, thumbs up all the way.
Agreed. Yeah, it's funny because this technology that they had in both Atlantis and in Treasure Planet was only a couple of years removed from Titan AE. So it's like, okay, wow, there you go. So one film that hasn't fallen by the wayside that we will talk about next week, because we do have 5 Sundays in March, we're going to talk about a classic. Wall-E is the conversation we will have next week. So hope you tune in for that. That'll be fun. I figured we end on a popular one, and one that everybody seems to really enjoy, because I know I love Wall-E as well. So we got one final comment from Billy Judd, and we'll close it out here. If they remake the Aristocats, they better get Jim Cummings as a Roquefort and make him sound like Sterling Holloway from the 1970 movie. That'd be interesting. I'd be down for that. It'd be interesting to see a remake of the Aristocats. I like that movie quite a bit as well. That's that Disney, hey, I'm going to introduce kids to other countries. Because Disney liked doing that. Here, we're going to set this in London.
I never saw the Aristocats. That's a blind spot for me. I was never a Disney kid. If it didn't transform into a robot, I didn't care about it.
Aristocats is a lot of fun. If anything, for the soundtrack. The soundtrack is pretty amazing. But the movie in general is a lot of fun for sure. I mean, it's a little more classic Disney, approach, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. So, thank you so much, Billy Judd. Thank you all. Talix just said, we'll get this will be the last one. If they do a remake, they need to do CGI cat people from Cats. Hashtag release the butthole cut. Thank you, Talix. Hashtag release the butthole cut.
All the way.
Cats.
Speaking as the one person on the planet who defends the Cats movie from 2019.
Hey, we agree on that movie. We actually agree on that movie. And so
to the degree that I love it, I don't know, Mark.
I'm not sure if I love it as much as you, but I do enjoy that film quite a bit. So
okay.
And I do it's
we'll both turn on our critic card on the same day.
There we go. We'll both just shred it on the same day together. It'll be a team building thing. Anyway, so thank you so much, Talix, Billy Judd, Ted, the soundtrack guy, everyone who tuned in tonight, who commented. Love the comments, love the interaction. Thank you so much. And now, as always, we give the floor to our guests to shill away. So, Ian, what you got to shill?
Well, I'm Ian Simmons. I run Kicking the Seat, which you can find at kickseat.com. I'm also right here on YouTube doing live streams and critics roundtables and reviews and all good stuff. Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Central, Earth's Mightiest Critics will be discussing Project Hail Mary. So come for those fireworks. And that's what I got going on.
And we got a lot going on here on the channel. We just dropped about 13 interviews in the last week that we did at the Midwest Weird Fest and Night of Horror International Film Festival. We also have a couple other interviews worked in there, a couple reviews. Check out the special episode we did. We had a special guest, Anastasia Elfman, joined Ian, Joe, and myself, and we discussed a classic film, The Uninvited. So look for that episode. That just dropped as well, and I got a whole lot more coming, folks. This one-man band is really banging the drum. So stay tuned, like, subscribe, bells and whistles, and all of that. And tune in next week, Monday. It will be Monday for Wall-E as we talk and close out our Drawing Space month with a discussion about that very interesting and fun film. So hope you tune in for that on Monday, 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And thank you all for your support and continue listening. And until next time, we'll just say a good night, everyone.
Good night.